this is Greg with Lionquestfitness. Today we're going to talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of a cross-draw holster. Let's talk about it. So what are the advantages, or one of the advantages of a cross-draw holster? Well, it's very easy to get out and get on target. And it's probably maybe next to, or maybe even superior to, appendix carry, one of the fastest draws you can do. Now, this is Carlita. I brought her out of the safe to shoot her a little bit today. And 1962 Chief Special. So what could be a disadvantage? Well, you know, I spend my life doing a lot of vigorous stuff. You know, squat down, get under, do this, do that. You know, bend over, pick this up. And a cross-draw holster, an open-top cross-draw holster, is really more for somebody who's doing a lot of standing. Say like they work at a window, or maybe they sit at an office. Maybe they're in a wheelchair. Perhaps they're spending hours driving. Then that's when this holster would come in very well. But somebody who's a little more vigorous, it's going to require maybe some type of retention strap. And Azula, and this is an Azula holster, they make this same gun with a retention strap. They also make it with a heavy-duty retention strap, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. So let's go to our next two scenarios. In that first scenario, we had a rapscallion trying to pull an armed robbery. And whenever I do a scenario like that, and I always get somebody comment, well, you will be dead before you got your gun out. Okay. Well, paper targets don't shoot back. But realistically, if somebody is holding a gun like this, unless they know what they're doing, which most people don't, especially criminals, their chances of hitting you are, you know, kind of iffy. Plus the surprise of you reaching for your wallet or for whatever they're asking for, and then coming out and presenting a firearm. All right, that's going to block them down for just momentarily. So what do we have here? This looks like a Smith & Wesson Model 10, but it's not. It is a Smith & Wesson hand ejector, and it's an old one, 1940. This is one I only shoot lead wad cutters out of, semi-wad cutters. I wouldn't shoot anything modern or hot out of it. But it actually was chambered for 38 Smith & Wesson, which is a different caliber than, or a different bullet than 38 Special, but it was rechambered for 38 Special. It shoots a little bit wompy. It's not exactly a precision handgun, but for self-defense from 10 yards in, it's actually it could be a viable choice, you know. And the thing about it is, Smith & Wesson left a lot of money on the table when Taurus came out with the 3-inch Defender, because a 3-inch revolver is probably the ideal size for a defensive revolver. And they could have come out with a pencil barrel Model 10 that could shoot modern ammunition and could be very concealable and manageable like this gun. So let's go to the second scenario. In that scenario, you're in church, you're sitting in a restaurant, you're sitting somewhere. And this is where a cross-draw holster really shines, because you have some dastard come in wanting to do harm to folks. You can reach across, get that gun and present, go to work, so to speak. All right, remember, it's about self-defense. So the good thing about this holster, or the interesting thing about this particular holster, is it's not really made for a K-frame. This is actually the JX, which means it's for a larger small frame revolver as opposed to a J-frame size revolver. Something like a Ruger SP-101, or perhaps the Taurus 856 and 3-inch. However, Smith & Wesson revolvers from back in the day, they're a little bit thinner and a little bit smaller mass-wise than the modern revolvers. So this gun actually fits very well in this holster. And if you're going to wear an open-top holster, you really want to get something that's fairly snug that will help retain the gun. So let's look at our last scenario. On the last scenario, we were shooting at 10 yards, shooting some low velocity 357s, and we were using what Azula calls their outdoors holster, which is meant for hunting, outdoor field work, open carry type holster, but it is semi-concealable with this size gun, which what we have here is old Chief Rolling Thunder, model 66-2. And even though it has this thick security strap, it's not that hard to get the gun out. Even one-handed, just takes a little practice to get it out. Now, let me give you one more reason why you might want to consider cross-draw holsters. And this has to do with something nobody ever talks about, except chiropractors, is back pain. Law enforcement officers for decades have kept chiropractors in business because of having to carry that duty belt with that sidearm. And in this day and time where you have people who carry full-size duty weapons with lights and red dots, and it's like, okay, that's not going to happen for too many years. before they either quit carrying it all, or else that J frame or that Ruger LCP starts looking really good. So anyway, I hope I've given you some ideas and some things to think about. And I've got to show you some really nice looking holsters from Azula. And this is Greg from Lionquestfitness.